Hi everybody, this is going to be a quick video on how QuickBooks and EDC work together, how to set up EDC and QuickBooks to talk to each other, basically. Um, to make this simple, let's see. Okay, I'm going to create a new company here in QuickBooks just so that I can do it as if you're starting from scratch. Some people already have a company, but we're going to be able to relate anyway. That way. I'm gonna skip the interview. I'm gonna try to make a test company QB QuickBooks. I'm just gonna put none here. I'm not an accountant, by the way. I don't know much about QuickBooks, but still. So I don't really know all those types. I'm just gonna choose other, make it really simple. This could be anything really. It probably works with any kind of company, but I'm just gonna go like that. Okay, I got a blank QuickBooks here. Basically, if I look in the chart of accounts over here, there's just the basic defaults that come with QuickBooks for that kind of company. Um, and here I got my EDC open. Um, there's a few things to do to set up EDC with QuickBooks. The first thing to do is this in the system information. There's all these tax and GL codes related items that you have to set. Um, all these things should be set up in QuickBooks ahead of time. Although I think some of them are not necessary. Like if you don't have them in QuickBooks and you import some EDC invoices, they will automatically get imported. But we find that if you do it that way, like if you don't do them in QuickBooks first, sometime uh, when they're created via the import, QuickBooks assigns bad account types to those items. So it's probably better to set them up in QuickBooks first. Um, EDC can have default different tax calculations, like just tax A or tax B. I'm just taking an example here as in Quebec here we got tax B on A. So um, yeah, so we're just gonna go one by one. I have to create all these things. So the first ones to do is my GL codes. These are done in the chart of accounts. So I'm going to do one for GST payable, PST payable, ANR for account receivable. They have to be named the same thing. So GST payable, let's start with that one. So I'm going to go in my chart of accounts. I'm going to go here at the bottom, account, new. These type of accounts are other current liability. So I continue. So this was GST payable. And just to be sure, I'm going to recheck the name because it has to be the same. Yeah. Save. I got that. I'm going to do one for PST. Okay. Now I need an accounts receivable. So I'm going to, again, new. This one's going to be of type accounts receivable. I'm just going to call it AR, make it simple. Okay, I got these three accounts here. Next, what do we get? I got tax A agency, tax B agency. Um, this depends on where you are in the world, but I'm just taking an example. tax A for us is Canada and B is Quebec kind of thing. I don't know if they're really called like that here even, but I'm just going to call them like that just for the sake. These are done in QuickBooks in the vendor center. So I'm going to go to the, I'm going to close this. I'm going to go to the vendor center. Right, new vendor. And this one I'm going to call, what was it? Revenu Canada. So, okay, I'll just bypass the rest of the stuff. I got one for Revenu Canada. I got one for Revenue Quebec. So, like that. And what else do we got? QuickBooks class. I'll come back to that. Tax A and B sales code. I think these are the ones that we see on the invoices as such. So I'm just going to call them like that. I guess you could call them other things too. But these are done in the items list. So I'm going to close that. I go to items and services here. And I'm going to create new. I'm just going to leave it as service for now. I think it could probably be something else, but you'd have to ask an accountant. I don't really know about that. So GST sales and PST sales. So I'm going to go GST sales for one. Okay. Oh, so GST payable, I suppose. Right, and then PST sales with PST payable. Okay, I got those two things done. Now the QuickBooks class, a lot of people don't use this, but if you want to use it, you can. What this is usually used for is if you got a company that has many different types of businesses, kind of like if you have, let's say, a fishing industry with a car industry with something else, and say QuickBooks here could be, I mean, for EDC could be a records industry, or it could be whatever we want. Actually, let's do it that way instead of just using the generic. I'm gonna call it records business. Okay, it could be whatever. So records business. Okay. This to enable that. First of all, you have to enable classes in QuickBooks for this to happen. You do that in the edit preferences, and under accounting here, if you go to company preference, you can say use class. Okay. Prompt, I don't really know. I'm going to take it off. Maybe it's good to leave it on, but I have no idea. Click OK here. Now that I've enabled classes, after that I can define them. So if you go in the list menu, then you can see class list, right? So I'm going to go in here and create a new one. I'm going to call that one same as I've done here, which was records business. So, all right. Okay, so now all my fields here are all done. The tax and A code. This is like for me in Canada, if I leave that blank, this is basically what is going to export in the QuickBooks export from EDC in the tax lines. But if I leave that blank for Canada, it will automatically assign GST and PST to my tax lines. If you're in the United States, I think you have to put auto S tax in them, even if you don't charge tax. So if here default tax calculation is set to none or something, you still have to put, I think, auto S tax. And where is this exactly in QuickBooks? This one, I'm not sure if it even is. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, so that's one part of it. That's the system information part. Now the next part is we have for all the pricing in EDC, the general pricing module, um, we have to enter GL codes for each item, each price code basically that we want to charge for. Um, Now, these should also be in the chart of accounts. And there's two ways to do them. You can just put just a code in here by itself, and that will be the code, but you can also put categories. So ENTR here in my EDC is for storage. So I made an example as, the main category, for example, would be storage, and then colon, the two dots, and then I put my normal code after that. Because in this example here, I got two codes for my examples. I got ENTR in ENTV for the storage of the vault. So again, I've put storage because it's in the category of storage, but ENTV at the end here. So I'm not going to do a bunch of codes for general pricing in this example. It would be the same for all of them. So I'm just doing two as an example. But it would be the same principle for all the codes. You could divide them in categories or not. You don't have to do that. But if you don't, then you just enter the ENTV, say, or ENTR in here. Here, a dictionary string not found. Sorry about that. It's the GL code for tapes, but you would see that in your own EDC. So if you have tapes, there's different. You can have a different GL code for that. So I'm gonna enter those two ones in my chart of accounts. So if I go back here, I'm gonna go new, and this would be an income, right? All my pricings, I think, should be income, but again, I'm not an accountant. It might be different. So this would be account name ENTR, say, sub account of. I don't have anyone yet, but I'm gonna do one. This one's gonna be storage, and this one is not a sub account of anything. It's like my main one. So ENTR, right? Save. As you can see now, I got my category and then a subcategory. I'm gonna do another one for ENTV. So income again. ENTV, sub account of my storage account. And that's it. I'm pretty much set now to import my invoices. So if I close this, if I go and create invoices, there's nothing yet. I got no invoices at all. So I already had generated ahead of time some invoices. So I got 3 invoices from 2 to 4. And if I view any one of them, I got my invoice with my storage and storage vault and all that, the price and the units. And at the bottom I got my GST and PST. So I'm going to close that and export to QuickBooks 2 to 4. Okay, done. Now if we want to really know in detail, if you open that IIF file that was saved, you can right click on it and say open with WordPad or Notepad. And if you do that, then you can see the actual details under the hood. Not that it's very interesting or anything, but see all these things that I entered in my system information, they're all there. And so this is how, QuickBooks fetch all that information. So now I'm just gonna import them via utilities, import IIF file. It's on my desktop. Double click, done. Okay. Now, if I want to see now, if I go back to invoices, I can see if I go back to previous, I can see now all my invoices, right? And if I make that a bit bigger, you can see my class as a records business. I got my amounts, I got my GST and PST for my invoice, and my codes, right? But that's what's on the invoice itself, because the invoice, I think, it's better to have the descriptions on it. Now, I don't know the details of that, exactly why it puts that same description in the item code instead of just the code. Maybe that's how it should be. But basically, you got the details of your items plus the tax, basically, and your total at the bottom. And if I go for each invoice, it does the same. And then if I go back to my chart of accounts, I got my totals, basically. So for my account receivable, for all my invoices so far, I got this. But these are all QuickBooks related specifics, which I don't know much about. But basically all the information is there. As you can see though, my storage, we're not seeing anything here at the end, but that's because it's only the total balance. So if I right click on the header here and I customize the columns, and if I add, say, my balance column instead of just the balance total, right, and I click OK, now I can see my actual totals for each of those, ENTR, ENTV, and all that. And then I got my total for my account receivable. And then I'm sure there's other reports and stuff, like I just double clicked on that, but that's QuickBooks related things, which I don't know much about, so I can't tell you too much about that. But oh, there was something else as well. Did we talk about that? The items? Yes. My storage now. I got GST sales and PST sales, the things that were on my invoice. I haven't checked that out though, but I'm kind of interested. Tax agency. If I put that in there, what does that do? Okay. Well, never mind. I tried, but no, but all the information is there. I mean, accountants would know exactly where to look to find what they need to find. But that's pretty much how you import into QuickBooks. So the idea here is that as long as you know the mappings, that where goes where. If you go back and look back at that video, you'll find exactly in which modules in QuickBooks each of those tax items were and stuff. So yeah, that should do it. If you have any questions, just send an email to support. Okay.